Hello, welcome to Zoom into College Research 101. My name is Ramona Miller-Ridlin. I will be instructing this session today. Just a couple pointers. Microphones are muted and cameras are off. There will be a chance to ask questions if you have any, and also you can ask questions in the chat box. So today, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be learning how to search from the Lawrence W. Tyree Library. We're going to be using the library catalog, a database called Academic Search Complete. We'll go over how to read a scholarly article, and we'll talk about citations. Let's go ahead and get started. So first, how to search. Most of the time, we do start with a search question. We are trying to find information. So say you're working on a paper or a speech for your class, and you just want to know, how does exercise affect your mental health? That is your search question. First thing we need to do is determine the keywords for this search question. What are the important terms? What words will you need to use when you are searching for this information? One is obviously exercise. We need to know a lot about exercise to know if it affects mental health. The next is mental health, because we're not just looking at exercise, we're looking at its effect on mental health. Very rarely is it a good idea to put an entire question into a search box. You really just want to put your key terms. Putting a lot of terms can slow it down, it can limit your results. And really we don't need the how or the does. What we need is exercise and mental health. So now that we have those terms, we need to find other keywords. A lot of times when you're searching databases, you're searching the internet, things aren't organized by subjects. So you might find an article on exercise that doesn't call it exercise, it calls it something else, or mental health. So you need to find all the synonyms for those terms. So for exercise, we have movement, sports, activity, physical fitness. It'll probably benefit you to search all those different terms. Mental health, a couple keywords or synonyms are mental balance, sanity, mental stability, well-being. So that now we have some key terms that we're going to search. We need to actually search for them. And where's the best place to start searching? When you are doing research at Santa Fe College, your best place to start searching is probably the library catalog. In our building, the library catalog, or in our library, the library catalog is where you would go to find books we own, magazines we own, newspapers, videos, audiobooks, etc., etc. It's basically the way to find out what is in our collection, what we own. First, we have to get to the library. So this is the library's website, or the college's website. I'm sure you've been here 1,000 times. It's just sfcollege.edu. It's where you go to for all things Santa Fe. If you scroll down from here, you'll see there is an icon that looks kind of like a Greek temple and says library. That is how you get to the library's page. We're right there on the front of Santa Fe's page. Very easy to find. This is Santa Fe's library's website, the Lawrence W. Tyree Library. Lots of good information here. Our hours are always up here on the left. We've got our reopening guide, so you know what's changed due to COVID. Wear masks, less people, all that kind of thing. You can book a study room right from our front page. You can learn about our services. There's contact us. There's the different things happening here this week, including this session right here. But the places you will want to go to the most on our website, the important things, are these boxes up here across the top. The catalog, the databases, the guides. Right now, we want the catalog. Now you can click here, or you can just scroll down and use the Simplify catalog that's right on our front page. Right from this kind of gold box, you can search for books we own, magazines we own, newspapers, etc. You can look for just eBooks, just media items, that's videos, audiobooks, CDs, or just reserve items. And reserves are anything your instructor has placed back behind that big round desk on our first floor. It's going to be copies of textbooks, articles they want you to read, videos they want you to watch, etc. We're just going to search the whole library catalog right now. And we can just put in exercise and mental health. Notice I did not type in a sentence. I just put in the terms I wanted. It doesn't care if you capitalize or not. You can search by keywords, you can search by title, you can search by author, you can search by subject heading. Keyword is going to search all three of these, plus the book description, the publishing information, etc. Okay, so it tells me it found 188 matching items. First is an ebook. I've got some videos. I've got a book down here. On the left, I can narrow my search to just things that are available for checkout. I can tell it I want just a book, just a video, CD-ROM. I can narrow it by subject if I'm looking more for self-care and health or physical fitness. I can narrow it by author, geographic area, etc. Lots of ways to make my search very precise. So I'm going to look at the book first, at the print book, which is number 8. You can tell each of these have a little icon that tells you what type of resource that is. So the number 8 is Notes on a Nervous Planet by Matt Haig, published in New York, New York, Penguin Books 2009. This is the call number. This is what you're going to need to actually find the book in our library. And in our library, books are all on, most of our books are up on the 3rd floor. That's where our circulating collection is. We just this week opened up the 3rd floor. So if you check in at the 2nd floor, we'll give you a pass. That will let you go up to the 3rd floor and you can find books up there. But if you are doing this from home, or if you're nervous about COVID or just want to have that book ready for you when you get here, you can actually place that book on hold. If you click on place on hold, it will ask you to log in. This is going to be different than your regular Santa Fe login. Your bar ID will be the same. Your bar ID is your 8-digit Santa Fe number that you use for everything. But your PIN or password is just going to be the last 4 digits of that. And that will allow you to place a book on hold. So here you can place it on hold at the main library. If you are going to be picking this up at one of the centers, say Andrews or Blunt or Perry, you can click there and have it actually sent to any of our centers also. You click on place request and we'll put a hold on it for you. If you have a hold on it, we will notify you when it's in, and you can either pick it up curbside if you don't want to come in the building, or you can come into the building and pick it up at that big round desk on the 1st floor. Okay, so let's go back to our results here. So that's the books. You notice there's a lot of streaming videos and ebooks here too. In fact, the very one we looked at has an ebook. Those are all things that are available online. So if you're not here, you're not planning on coming to campus, you can read or watch these all from home. All you have to do is click here where it says click here, and it's going to ask you to log in. That, unlike the last one, will be your eSanta Fe information. Actually, it's going to be Office 365 information. So your Santa Fe number at sfcollege.edu, and then whatever your Santa Fe password is. And that will get you into all of our online books, all of our streaming videos, all of our online articles, etc. Now let's go back and look at, so I found, I don't remember how many I found, 188 items. Let's say the one I had, the Notes on a Nervous Planet, was perfect. That's exactly the subject I want. If I click on the title here, and wait a wee bit, and scroll down, it also gives me subjects. So I could look at psychology, anxieties and phobias, and see what books we have on that subject. I could also look for self-help for depression and see what books we have on that subject, or social science, popular culture. So if you're having trouble finding things, but you do find one book that looks really good, you can always look at the subjects it's categorized under. Okay, I do want to point out one more thing up here in the top corner. I have show 3,657 items that you can request statewide. If we don't have enough stuff, if you need more than we've got, you can always click there and it will open up the entire statewide catalog. That way, you can see what every college and every university has. And then once you go in there, if you click in books available for you borrow, everything left there is something that you can actually have sent here. So say Life in the Fasting Lane, How to Make Intermittent Fasting a Lifestyle. If I want a copy of that book, I can click on You Borrow, tell it where I want to pick it up, and it will actually have that book sent here to our library. And you can have it sent Northwest Campus, any of the campuses. And once again, you can pick that up curbside, or you can pick that up at the big round desk on the first floor, the circulation desk. Now I can always do another search up here at the top and look for something else. As I said, I have the options of changing to different, if I want to look at videos, etc. So that's the library catalog. At least that's where you would go in our library to find books we have, magazines we have, newspapers, videos, etc. Okay, so you've learned how to find books, but that's not the end of your research. You need a lot more than books when you're researching. One of the best places to find information, and probably a place your instructor is going to require you to look for information, is in scholarly journals. Scholarly journals, academic journals, tend to be more recent than books. They have much more in-depth information. They usually talk about the latest scholarship or studies being done on a topic. They're always written by experts in the field. They're just a really good place to look for information. Books are broader. Journal articles tend to be very specific about one topic. So, best place to start when you're looking for journal information is an Academic Search Complete. So, back to the library's website. Remember I told you that these top boxes are the best place to go, catalogs, databases, guides. Databases is where you would go to find magazine, newspaper, and journal articles. In the library world, in our jargon, a database is basically a collection of magazine, newspaper, and journal articles that you can search all at once and find information. We do have some specialized ones. We have ones that just look at art, ones that teach foreign languages. We have one that helps you with the ACT and the SAT test. But for the most part, it's collections of magazine, newspaper, and journal articles. This is our list of databases. All, however many, 91 that we have. You can either just scroll down to go straight to the one you're looking for. If you know you are looking for a particular subject, like our subject on exercise and mental health, click on health and medicine. Those are going to be the databases on that subject. And we always have best bets up here at the top for help for that particular field, health and medicine in this case. And then we also have our recommended ones here on the left. These are our top ones, the ones we send people to the most, our favorites. And they're usually a good place to start when you're doing your research. And the one I'm going to show you is Academic Search Complete. If you have ever done a library instruction session, if you've ever come up to the reference desk and asked for help, if you've taken the library science course, you're probably familiar with Academic Search Complete. It's just a really good place to start your research. It indexes over 5,000 different magazines and journals. Almost all the journals are in full text, so you can read the entire article. It's very, very current and very broad in that it has things like People and Sports Illustrated, but it also has the heavy-duty research articles, journals. Okay, it's very easy to use. Just plug in whatever you're searching for up here at the top. And if you scroll down, you can see all the ways to narrow it. You can, if you have an instructor who's told you to only look at scholarly peer-reviewed journals, you can click there and it will narrow you to the scholarly journals, peer-reviewed journals, academic journals, Professional journals, they go by a couple different names. You can narrow the number of pages if you want. If you just, I'm not going to read anything over 10 pages, you could tell it that. Narrow by date, publication type, language, whether it has photographs or charts, narrow whether it's a cover story, etc. Okay, and then you just type in whatever it is you're searching for. I'm going to say exercise. And the nice thing is it kind of finds my synonyms, my keywords for me. So I started typing exercise, and it finds exercise or physical activity or fitness. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. What the or does there, it means exactly that. It can find any of those terms. It can find exercise, or it can find physical fitness, or just fitness, physical activity or fitness. So that broadens my terms, and it makes it so it will search all those different synonyms. And then I'm going to put in mental health. And once again, it finds terms for me. So I have mental health or mental illness or mental disorder. So it will find any of those terms. This and means it has to find at least one of these and at least one of these. So I'm not going to get anything that talks about just exercise. It would have to be exercise and mental health, or exercise and mental illness, or exercise and mental disorder. So I've used both the synonyms in both things, but I've got the and that makes it so it has to find those terms. And I can click on search. Okay, so it found 10,673 articles. It's going to give me the newer ones first. So I have an article here from last December from Journal of Biology. I've got something from just in April from BMC Psychiatry, something from 2007. Over here on the left, just like the library catalog, I have the option to narrow my results. I can tell I just want academic journals. I can click in subject and say I just want psychological aspects or research evaluation, teenagers' conduct of life. I can narrow by just English. If I'm finding a lot of things that aren't from the United States, I could say just United States, that I don't care about the China studies, the Australia studies, etc. Okay, so let's look at these articles. Let's look at this second one, physical exercise, mental health problems, and suicide attempts in university students. If I click on it, it gives me a lot more information, tells me the subject terms that I could try searching under, gives me the authors, author-supplied subject terms. An abstract. Abstract is basically one paragraph that tells me what that article is about. And it can be very useful because it will also tell you if there's a study or an experiment, it will tell you the outcomes of that study or experiment. So it can sometimes, you can get all the information you really need right from the abstract. And also it can save you from reading this as an 11-page article. If you realize while reading the abstract that it really doesn't pertain to what you're looking for, you can not have to read that. You just say, okay, that doesn't work, and move on. Okay, so if I want to read this article, I can just click on PDF full results, or full text, sorry, and it gives me the full text of that article, 11 pages from BMC Psychiatry. I can also, this one also has a HTML full text option. It's going to be the same article, it's just going to be, it's going to look a little different. Same text, just the way it looks changes. Okay, so say I like this article. This is really helpful. It's on my topic. I can go over here to the right and I can print it. I can go up here and just download it. Or I can click on this email icon and email it to myself. Now, if you're at home, probably just printing it's just fine. But if you're at school and you don't want to pay 10 cents a page to print it, or you actually think this is interesting and want to send it to somebody else, I recommend emailing it. For one, you've got a copy, you don't have to worry about losing it, it's free, you don't have to pay to print it. And if you go over here to citation format and choose your citation style, I'm just going to tell it MLA, it will email you a citation for this article also, that you can just copy and paste and put right into your works list of works cited. Now, it's not always 100% correct. It can do weird things with capitalization, but for the most part, the citation generators for MLA from this are very, very good. APA, you might have to look over and fix some things. Now, let's say I do want to print it out at home, but I still want to see that citation. I can go over here, this little yellow piece of paper on the right, click on that, and it will give me all the different citations for this article. If you are at Santa Fe College, you're probably going to be using APA, American Psychological Association, or MLA, Modern Language Association. Those are probably, it's going to be one of those two, and usually your instructor will tell you which one. I've yet to meet an instructor that uses the Brazilian national standards, so don't send your instructor that. They won't like that. Okay, I can always go back to the result list to refine my results. I can redo my search terms up here at the top, or if I click on the big, or if I go up here and click new search, it will take me back to a completely blank search screen again. I can go through these. It gives me 20 per page. I can always go to the next one. I do want to point out this full text finder, which is slightly different than the HTML full text or the PDF full text. That just means that this database, Academic Search Complete, does not have a full text version of this article, but another one of our databases does. So if you click on Full Text Finder, it will take you to that other database. In this case, looks like it was Science Direct. And there's that article for this database. So just because it says Full Text Finder and it doesn't exist in Academic Search Complete, you can still get to it. Okay, like I mentioned, it's not our only database. We have a lot of different databases. Definitely start an Academic Search Complete, and then you can move on to some of the more subject-specific ones. So if you're doing something in education, you might want an education database. If you're doing something in art, you would want one of the fine arts ones, history, etc. Now, what you're usually looking for are scholarly articles. So you need to know how to read a scholarly article. What makes this a scholarly article? So I'm going to go back to my result list and pull up the article. Actually, I'm going to pull up the next one. Exercise can seriously improve your mental health, fact or fiction. So there's that article from Advances in Physiotherapy. So all scholarly articles are going to start with the title and author. Usually it will tell you in a scholarly article where that author is from. What are their credentials? In this case, we have Mary E. Donahue. She's from the School of Health Sciences, Queen Margaret University, Lee Campus, Edinburgh. So that's her credentials right there. You know this is somebody who's in the field, she's got all her qualifications for it, and probably, has some knowledge of the subject. Then you have the abstract. I mentioned the abstract before. All scholarly articles will have abstracts. You notice you don't find them in a lot of magazine articles. You're not going to find them in People magazine or Sports Illustrated. But that's just an overview of what that article is about. And as I said earlier, usually you can get enough information just from that abstract. Then a discussion, it goes into why did we do this research? What brought on this question? What problem are we trying to solve? Or question are we trying to answer? Usually you will find a review of the literature. They've looked over what's been said before. Then you get the discussion along with all the different charts, how they did their experiment, what they found out, basically the meat of the article. And then you get the where do we go from here? What do we still need to study? A conclusion that kind of wraps things up, and usually a long list of references. This one happens to have 71 different references. So that's how you would read a scholarly article. Those are the important parts. Usually for anything you need to do here at the college, the abstract, the introduction, and the conclusion are the important parts. A lot of this middle part's going to be deeper than most of us can decipher. Okay, and once you've got that, you've put all your research together, you need to write citations. As I mentioned before, if you are at Santa Fe, chances are you're using APA or MLA. There's a couple that use one for chemistry. Some of the history classes use Chicago, but APA and MLA are the biggies. From the library's website, if you go to guides, and then the first one here is citation guides. We have some really nice in-depth guides on how to do citations. We have APA, Chicago, and MLA. Let's look at the MLA one. And that goes over, how to look for book or how to cite books. We give you the template, what the different bibliographic information looks like, and sample citations. And we have that for hopefully anything you might be needing to cite. Anthologies, reference books, different types of articles, media, internet. We have other examples like interviews, artworks, class materials, etc. So hopefully we have just about anything you might be needing to cite. We've got a guide here that can help you do that. Also in the citation guides are, and this is very useful, the database citing tools. So I told you we had those 91 different databases. This will tell you how to find citations from any of those databases. Most of them, like Academic Search Complete, will create a citation for you. And this tells you how to go about doing those citations for any of those databases. Okay. Just a couple other things. I do want to point out Google Scholar, which I didn't have in my little thing. Google Scholar, for those of you who've never used it before, is Google's answer to our databases. It goes out on the web, it scrolls through it, it finds scholarly articles, and it gives us a search engine so we can search all of them. You notice it is a straight up Google search box. It does not have all those fancy limits and everything that you get in the databases. It's just your straight up Google search box. And it found in typical Google format 2,900,000 different articles. Now, if you're doing this from the library or from any campus connected computer, it already knows where you're coming from. And that means it links it to our library. So it went out and it found that this article is actually available from our databases. So is this one, so is this one. If you're doing this from home, you can go up to this little square up here in the corner, choose settings, and the second one here is library links. And you just want to put Santa Fe College in that box. And then click save. Oops, I lost my search. And that will make it so even from home, it thinks you're coming from Santa Fe College, and we'll find all the things we have available at our library also. So anything that has a link out here to the side is something you can read. And it's giving you exercise and mental health from sports medicine. It's giving you something from Journal of Sport Behavior, Meritas Public Health Reports. Occasionally you'll find ones like this one from the International Journal of Sports Psychology, Children, Exercise, and Mental Health, that does not have a link off here to the side. That means that article is not freely available online, but never fear, just give us a call, tell us you want this article, and we can get it for you. We have deals with libraries all over the country that if we don't happen to have access to an article, we'll find whoever has this journal from 1993. They'll make a photocopy of it or fax it to us and get it to you for free. So please do not pay for articles that you find online and they won't let you read. Please just give us a call and we can get you a copy of that article. Also, I did want to point out you can do a custom range here if you just want, say, the last 5 years worth of articles instead of those from the 90s that we seem to be getting a bit of. So now everything is a bit newer. Oops, I did the wrong. I wanted 2015 to 2020. So that gives us the last 5 years worth of articles. Okay, so that is all I have for you today. I do want to point out that the library is still open. We are still available. And even if you can't make your way here, we have our phones are all working, so you can call us, you can email us, and we have this address right here that you can actually go on and chat with us online. And we're open 7 to 7 Monday through Thursday. We close at 4:30 on Fridays. And we're open 12 to 6 on Sundays. And there is always a librarian here who can help you. And we will hopefully get you started with your research or help you get deeper into your research if you're having trouble, help you at the end, putting it all together, whatever you need. We are here to help, and we'd love for you to stop by or give us a call or anything. And thank you for joining me today.